Cody Johnson.
Now, Cody, after you had played our iHeart Country Festival, I went searching for you. I don't ever go searching for anybody. And I was like, I got to go find Cody because I never met you before. And I was like, where's Cody? I was tearing it up back there. And they were like, he had a family thing. And I was like, all right, I respect that. And I'll see him some other time.
Yeah, I got out of there.
Yeah, but man, you just do such a great live show. I mean, you sang, and I already really liked your songs. I remember sharing your songs here on this show a few years back. But you were so good live that I left going, okay, good. I was right. But then like Scuba Steve, our producer, who didn't really grow up on country music, he's in love with you, and he's got like the biggest guy crush ever. And so
You're going too far.
yeah, I know.
Throw him under the bus on the air.
Well, he's already done that to himself. We leave, and he's just playing all Cody Johnson all the time. But so first, just your live shows are so great. I imagine that is so important to you as a performer, and coming up the way you've come up.
It's the only legs you had to stand on when you came from where I came from. Growing up playing in Texas, and I came to Nashville, and I tried the whole thing, and it was very much, well, you got to take your hat off, and we're not singing about country cowboy stuff. I mean, at the time, it was all very, very platformed as far as four-wheel drive trucks and cut-off shorts, and it was very like it was a thing. And if you didn't fit into that mold, you didn't get the spotlight, which I was fine with. So when you go back home with that, and you just kind of appreciate the skin you're in, kind of thing. Your live show is all you have, and those fans that you create on the independent level, they don't really care about what radio station you're played on or what record label you're with. And when you can build that, that's what got us to the point where we were able to merge with Warner Nashville, and I was able to make a partnership and get a deal where I still got to maintain my independent spirit. And now we're reaching fans that only care if you're played on the radio or you have a label deal. So to merge those two kinds of fans together, your live show has to be on point every day. Every night you have to pretend it's the last show you're ever going to play, that this is the show that's going to make or break you with these fans. And so when you see me on stage, it's not rehearsed, it's not fake, it's authentic.
Often poke fun at artists who will wear cowboy hats but not be a real cowboy. That's just like kind of it's like Carrot Top and a prop. And so, however, I often say like a Randy Houser was in. And he was a real cowboy growing up. And John Party is a friend of mine. He was a real cowboy. He can go out now and rope, and he can do all that. With you're a real cowboy. So for someone to be like, we don't do the cowboy, but you're like, I'm a real freaking cowboy. What do you mean the cowboy stuff? Like, this is real life stuff.
I wasn't very nice. My manager, I wish half of y'all could have been in the room. I'm not even going to mention the label, but they said, well, we love your stuff. We love you. But I mean, would you be willing to take the hat off? And I was like, and I literally said, oh, you thought I bought this to come see you. And he and my manager's a pretty large guy. He just kind of shrunk down in his chair, and I was like, I shouldn't have said that. But I still said it.
Do you? I have like a couple nagging injuries, and it's stupid. It's from like high school football or like I'm embarrassed to say this in front of you because you're a real life cowboy. I did a dance competition once, and I hurt myself. From when you were riding bull, do you have any injuries that still linger where it's like, oh, my back or my leg?
Funny you say that. I actually just had neck surgery in December. I had been in pain since 2017, and it just kept getting worse, and there was numbness and burning, and my whole right arm felt like it was falling off. And so we went and did an MRI, and they put me in emergency surgery. They pulled out my C6 and my C7 vertebrae.
So they did emergency surgery. You went in for an MRI because of pain for a long time. Like, it had been hurting. So you're like, well, I got to get this done. I guess I'll go now. You're just, you put it off, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then they go, we got to go now?
He said, we need to be in surgery within the next hour. He said, so this particular surgeon was retiring. And he's like, man, you got to get this done. Like, you got to get this done. And I said, well, maybe I'll wait. And he said, there's a chance you could lose the functionality of your right arm completely. So there was bone spurs that were shaved off of the vertebrae, completely ruptured disc, and they found 13 bone fragments on the nerve, which means at some point I fractured my neck. And it was just, he's like, when you would know when you did this. And I'm like, no, I do a lot of stupid stuff. So I really don't know. I can't tell you one particular time.
That's crazy that they go, we got to go now, after you had just kind of let it I mean, I get it too. You're hurt. You're like, I can go to the doctor anytime.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, we got to go right now. And then when they're digging on your spinal cord too, that's real deal stuff.
It was a 5.5 hour long surgery, you know. And
Do you go? Are you nervous going to? Listen, I had a colonoscopy and I was nervous. I was like, I may die. But you're going in and they're digging on like real parts of your body. Are you like, oh man, I may not wake up?
I was extremely nervous, you know, but whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I was in so much pain at that time, I didn't care. I'm like, I'm not a pain pill guy at all. Like, I don't even take a Tylenol. And I was like, give me drugs. Help me not to hurt right now. And so I was thankful. They're like, well, we're going to have to cut here and cut there. I don't care. Just get rid of it. I'd had enough.
Do you think it's from falling, like being tossed off of bulls, or just the general wear and tear of all of it? I mean, because you're constantly getting tossed
I've
around.
landed on my neck and on my head more than a few times from bulls, horses, and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I've not been very nice to my body.
I don't want to brag, but I've done quite the amount of mutton busting. I don't want to brag. I don't want to brag, Cody.
My 7-year-old actually just won a mutton bust. And
I want to brag myself.
I was like, heck yeah.
I was like
7-year-old.
I was like 15. I was like 15.
7-year-old.
Yeah. I was like 15, 16 or so. Do you watch rodeo now, or are you mostly like some of my friends that played ball? They're like, I've seen it. I'm good. I don't need to watch it right now because it was pretty traumatic for me.
No, so for a long time I didn't. A long time, and if anybody's, I don't know if you have or you haven't, but my documentary Dear Rodeo kind of tells that story. I was bitter for a long time because I wasn't good enough to make it, and so I didn't watch it, and I was pretty immature about the whole thing. And I'm at a different place in my life now. I'm 35. I'm at the point when my music career is doing wonderful. I've got a beautiful wife that's my best friend and beautiful kids and a cattle ranch back in Texas, and that's what we do every day is we rope and train horses and work cows. And so it's funny. I thought that bull riding was like, I was really mad that I didn't get to achieve that goal. When in all reality, like I'm so much more involved in rodeo and so much more involved in the cowboy way of life now than I ever would have been trying to ride bulls. But yeah, we follow it now. We've got a lot of friends that are in professional rodeo. And so it's fun to watch them compete and succeed. And, I'm pretty handy with a rope, but I don't have time. Those guys, they have to chase that career like I chase this career. It is every day, every night, day in, day out grind. And so there's a lot, and they're not getting paid. They're not like professional athletes that get paid whenever they sit on the DL. Like you can hurt yourself in baseball and sit on the bench and still get paid. Not in rodeo. If you're hurt, you're out. And so that's why you see guys keep and girls keep going even when they're hurt. It's pretty intense, man.
Hey, again, at our iHeart Country Festival, and you came out and you played Human, and you did that song live. And why would you decide to cut this song? What did it mean to you?
It's real. Following up Till You Can't being our first number one, it had a great message. And I think I've lived Human, and I think it's something that we all have in common no matter where you stand on any issue. We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing through the same life, trying to figure it out. And I think that's kind of my mark is I'm going to put out stuff that I can stand behind and say, I lived that. It's authentic. So,
Cody, watching you perform live, and I remember watching, not just listening to your vocal, but watching you, and it looked to me like definitely country music, but definitely a little gospel as well, because I grew up in a Baptist church. And right or wrong, I feel like I could see a little bit of that in your performance. Was church, when you were growing up, a part of your like musical, the early years?
Absolutely. It's where I learned the basis of most everything I know. I learned drums because we needed a drummer. And so I learned how to play.
Who's
dad,
we?
The people in, like the church
I
grew up in. So they were like, we don't have a drummer. And so my dad knew drums, and dad just taught me rhythm. And my dad played the piano. And so he was like Floyd Kramer good. And I wanted to learn guitar, and he taught me G, C, and D. It's the only things he knew on guitar, really. And so I would come home from school, and I would tape, like while I was at school, I would take my cassette tapes, and I would record a channel. I would record like the country channel or the R&B channel or the rock channel or whatever. And when I'd get home, I would play the song, and I'd pause it, and I'd try to play it. And I'd play it back, and I'd do it until my fingers bled. But I didn't get to play guitar in the church. It was just drums, and they didn't like me playing drums very much. I wanted to play like Zeppelin in church. Like, you've never heard I'll Fly Away, Oh Glory like I played it. And so that didn't last very long.
So you're playing drums. Are you singing at all in church?
Oh, yeah. That was my parents grew up singing like quartet gospel type, like Gaither vocal band type stuff. the Kingsmen. And so I had to learn harmony first. They wouldn't let me sing lead. It was, you can learn these harmony parts. But it kind of gave me what I call an ear education, because I don't know how to read music. I don't know how to read a guitar tab. Like I can't even do the number system in the studio with the studio guys, but it's all from what I hear. And that's really a blessing and a curse, because I can hear things that most people can't, but then it's hard. I can't explain it.
So if your dad was such a good musician, did he have aspirations of making it big back in the day?
No, I'm like, I grew up in a really small town, and small town people, and I think I might have been like the only guy that just said, I'm going somewhere. And I didn't know how, I didn't know what, but yeah, I'm kind of an anomaly.
Walk me through, if you're at a piano with your mom or your dad and they're teaching you how to sing harmonies, are they playing and you're singing the harmony to the notes on the piano, or are you their voice? Like, what are you chasing there?
It was their voices. So this is the lead part, this is the low, this is the high, this is the third up or the fifth? I can't even tell you. But when you hear those different things, and then we would learn to switch. When Mom sang lead, Dad would be down here and I would be up here. When Dad sang lead, I would be up here, Mom would be down here. And eventually I got to sing lead. And then I was like, I'm going to start playing my guitar. And I went to school and I played my guitar, and girls liked it. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. And then I graduated, started playing bars, and I got paid one time. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. And that's kind of where it started snowballing.
So you're playing music, but you're also rodeoing. Two careers where there's not a lot of long-term promise.
Well, and I've always said this, like, if I would have grown up in West Virginia, I'd have probably been a coal miner, because when you grow up in a little small town, you grow up and you do what Dad did. And so that's what I did. My dad worked for 33 years at the prison system in Texas. So whenever I turned 18, that's what I did. And I went to work for the prison system.
So that was your stability. That was your paycheck.
That's about as far as I looked. It's a steady paycheck. It's got insurance. And that was kind of my ceiling. That's where I kept myself. And I just never was happy, and it took certain people in my life saying, you're going to be old one day and you're going to regret not having taken this chance to go play music. And like my warden that I was working for at the prison system said, there's always going to be people in prison and there will always be room for a job here. Go try. Because if you don't go try and you don't take this chance, then you're going to regret it. And that's what we did. We went full force. My wife worked 2 jobs, and I went out on the road, and we didn't make money for like the first 5 years. I was paying, like Jody here, I was giving him the $100 and whoever else the $100, and my $100 went to the van. And so I was literally bringing in absolutely no money. It was, we were just riding on her shoulders. And so, I wish we had TikTok back then.
It's interesting because I think sometimes it gets overlooked by certain people, but you focused on it here and highlighted it. Your wife is such a critical part to your success and you being right here, right now.
Absolutely. She's probably the only reason I've got my head on straight. And people like me, you got to think about it. Any kind of man that would voluntarily work at a prison, ride bulls, and go out on the road with absolutely no guarantees of money. I mean, I'm a little bit of I am what I am.
Are you an adrenaline guy?
I'm absolutely an adrenaline guy.
Do you like to go fast and be up swinging high and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
she, that's the thing, is she kind of makes me realize, hey, stupid, stay down here on earth with the rest of us. And it's a great reminder. But that's what, she did so much for me. It's like I told her, one of these days you're not going to work, you're not going to want for anything, and I'm going to make it. And that's kind of the drive behind what I've done.
And I was looking at stuff to promote, and I still will, but everything's sold out basically, Cody. It's a great problem to have. I'm like, all right, what can I tell people? So this is what I say, Cody Johnson and Friends. So go to CodyJohnsonMusic.com because it's, different nights, Easton Corbin, Drew Parker, Randy Hauser. I could go through, but there are some shows where you can get a couple tickets, but maybe everything's selling out. That's a great problem.
We'll be in bigger venues next year.
Okay, I like to hear that. I will ask you about this because I saw you talking about, you were just kind of teasing the 3 albums, 3 projects you're working on, right?
Yeah, so we just got through recording a live album, which is something that we've always wanted to do. You mentioned at the very beginning of the show how important the live show is. We've never been able to capture the energy. And right now we're in a spot where we're playing big arenas and big amphitheaters, and we're getting ready to make that next move into much larger venues. And that's a whole different animal. But before we made that, well, I say before we graduate to that next step, we really wanted to capture what we are as a band. You know, Jody's not only, he's been with me for 12 years. Bass player's been with us 11. Drummer's been with us for 10. You know what I mean? We're tight. We're a very tight-knit group. We all wear the brand proudly with our tattoos together, you know, for the Rockin' CJB. And we wanted to capture that before we start adding anything to the show, before we add another player, so we recorded 5 shows, and we wound up with what we feel like is the best representation of what we do live. No tracks, bare bones, no gimmicks. It's just a band on stage. And I'm one of those people, like, I complain when my plate's full. But then as soon as something gets off my plate, I fill the plate back up again, like I'm a glutton for punishment or I like pain or something. So I'm in the process of, I'm fixing to go record a new studio album I'd like to have out next year. And so we got quite a bit going on right now.
It sounds like you're up to something else too. You're not telling us, and that's okay. I respect that. I respect that. Cody Johnson, dude, just great. I'm just honored that you would play. I mean, you're a big star. You don't have to come play on the show, but I'm very appreciative that you guys would come in and play this, both of you guys. So thank you very much. And we'll be standing outside the fence at your concerts going, let us in, because it's all sold out.
I think we can pull some strings, Bobby. It'll be okay.
All right, there he is, Cody Johnson, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
It's about